So we are actually live. I'm glad you got your professional look on.
Thank you.
So hi everybody out there. So this is actually the first time we've ever done a joint effort. So a combination of the three companies that Lori and I started. So LessonPix, ATMakers and Minor Achievements are all doing something together this week, and I thought I would share kind of what we were up to. So I guess first let's start with kind of introductions. Lori, most of you will probably know Lori, co-founder of LessonPix, founder of Minor Achievements, a therapy center in Tarpon Springs, Florida, here, which is where we are. It's also where we run LessonPix out of, and where we run ATMakers out of as well. So this is kind of ground zero for everything that Lori and I do. Lori Gorig works with us during the summer here as a speech pathologist with Pinellas County Schools. And AT coordinator?
AT specialist.
AT specialist with Pinellas County. Recently from
Broward County.
Broward County.
On the Broward Bat team.
And before that,
Maryland.
Frederick, Maryland. Okay,
Yeah.
Very good. Teresa Ruth, another speech pathologist. This was like the most overstaffed camp ever, right? So we had two speech pathologists. We had an OT, two teachers, ESE specialists, behavior specialists, and
lots of teen volunteers.
And a
social worker, lots of teen volunteers, and an engineer. And so it was a radically overstaffed camp. But we've just finished. So these ladies are done. They're done with me. Like
this week.
We finished an hour ago. Okay, they've had a pizza, and I put them live on the air, and none of them knew about it.
We did not.
So, no, which that's how you get people to show up. You don't tell them.
Just
Okay.
drag them in.
So what I wanted to do is to walk through a little bit, and Teresa, I didn't really go through you. I'm sorry. So you are LessonPix's primary speech pathologist. So you help us with all our speech path stuff. You're with us at ASHA and things like that. So some people may have actually met her. I do want to take a look real quick. I always want to just touch base and make sure we have nobody over here saying, "Oh, we can't see you" or anything like that. And I don't see that, which is good. Let me double check. And I know this is not the world's best way to do this, but it is what it is. Make sure we are actually showing up and live. And we are. Look, there we are.
There we
are.
are.
So, all right, excellent. Okay, so now that we know we're actually working, we can get into the details of this. So what did we actually do this week that's different? Probably the biggest thing is we made some devices. So we made devices like this and like this, which are AAC devices, low cost, poor
cost?
No,
quality.
poor quality.
Well, I wouldn't say poor quality.
Simplistic.
Yeah,
Simple.
basic. How about
Basic.
Basic AAC devices, and we kind of flooded the zone. We had every kid have one, and it was an idea that I brought up in March or April when I saw a device in here that makes it possible. And I said, "Hey, you guys are doing communication camp. Let's have every kid have a device." And you guys said, "Yay!"
Sure.
Sounds
With
great.
no clue of how it was going to work.
Or what are we putting on them?
Right. What we're putting on them or anything else. So let me give a quick look at what these things look like. Okay, and they can still see you, so nobody can pick their nose. Okay.
Great.
So that comes later.
That's a reference.
That comes later in the presentation. So this is the little device that we made. So ATMakers, folks from Adafruit helped out to make sure that this would work. It is a little device, about 4x6, with a little touch screen, and you can say all of your core words. Okay, that's actually probably the most common thing said. I like you, and I do not like you. Right? Zachary told me he did not like me a lot, and I got to be careful. I've been told over and over
No
again, no names, but
Bad.
he's not a camper. He's just a kid who's here, so we're good. All right. So that is probably the most common thing. But what we actually have on these are core words, right? And I'll see if I can get a little closer here.
What great symbols they are.
What fabulous symbols they are, right? So somebody might have drawn them over there in the corner. So I worked with Lori Geis for the initial list. I got a list from Project Core. and reviewed it with you guys, and we adjusted to kind of fit what we thought we would want for this camp. But this started with the Project Core 36, the 36 most powerful English words, the ones we use all the time, we want all kids to be familiar with, and they're all in here. And then we swapped a couple out just because of the group we had. We wanted a page full of positional adjectives and prepositions. And then there was a page for duck, duck, goose and the hokey pokey. The hokey pokey.
Just a few things.
Just a few things to make sure that there was an activity that was, engaging and fun, and you didn't have to be teaching core words all the time.
And the kids loved it. They loved duck, duck, goose.
Yeah, I have a video. You want to see? Should we jump to the video?
All right, sure.
Hold on, we'll do that.
Now I managed to mess up the audio on this piece and a piece later. But here you can see the kids playing in a group activity. They all have the devices and they're actively engaged. And when a little girl hits goose, you'll see her get chased around the room. She's using the device to signal it.
Some are completely nonverbal. Some of them are actually quite verbal, learning to read early.
We have a few independent communicators.
Yep.
We had limited
Context
vocabulary.
dependent.
Yeah, context dependent. Yeah.
So they all are at different levels, and that caused lots of challenges. So, and let's be clear, we don't want anybody to think this totally worked, right?
But that's what your typical classroom will look like too. You'll have so many different levels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the parts that did work about it is the kids had a ball. It was camp, right? It wasn't therapy. It wasn't lessons. It wasn't classroom. It was camp.
Right.
Exploratory.
Absolutely. And I think we learned a ton. We learned a ton from this, right?
And the kids, they chose the device they wanted to use. Some liked the little box, some liked the tablet, and some liked just the symbols we had.
The core.
Individual
core printed ones,
core printed
which I
symbols
don't know
in
if we
some
brought in.
activities.
So,
Like
did you bring some in?
yeah, we did an activity at snack. We did conversation at snack, talking about a topic, swimming. I like it or I do not like it. A
Gotcha.
simple kind of conversation.
Gotcha.
Telling our friends. So
And
some kids just pointed to the symbols and said the words, or pointed and could not say the words. But some kids chose that versus a device.
And some used that and then found them on the device.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So that kind of brings us around to the third part of this, right? So we have minor achievements, the therapy center. We have ATMakers making devices, and then we have LessonPix, right? So this entire place is covered in LessonPix pictures, always. But this camp in particular used a lot of things made on LessonPix, like these, and they were everywhere. There were pages and pages of things like this.
Right.
And so they had the same pictures, and they could find the same symbols. And of course, everybody here is a LessonPix expert because we're LessonPix experts, right? At this point, we better be, right? But Laura, you drew all the pictures.
I did, yes.
And was it neat to see them in devices? Was it?
And we uploaded them in Cough Drop to use on.
Yeah. So we did have two
Devices,
devices. We had two types of devices. Let me see if I can get this one to wake up. And this will show I can see if I remember Lori's pin. Sorry. I can't.
It's my birthday.
I know it's your birthday.
It
Hope he
didn't
knows
work.
my
Was your-
birthday.
I just typed it twice.
2019.
Never mind.
Oh.
I do know her birthday. Okay, she's my wife. I have to know it. So we used two different types of devices. We used the small ones that we made, which were dedicated devices, and we used Cough Drop on a tablet. So this is a very low-cost Android tablet. It looks like this, and it is running Cough Drop. It'll pop up here in a second. We locked that onto that application. That's why we didn't use the Fires, which actually the Fires are much more powerful and run a lot faster. But you can't lock them in right, and you can't pin them, and that's a big deal. If you can't pin them, I think these devices, for this setting, would have been completely worthless. They would have been worse than worthless, right?
But
Yeah.
we did have one student who could get
around it.
Yeah. So we had
There's always
a
some.
Houdini,
Yeah.
who no matter what we did, he managed to get
There it is.
to get out of there. And you'll see that it's exactly the same board, right? So it's the same board in the same order. There are some differences. This does not have like a sentence window to build your sentence.
Yeah.
And a couple other little things that they noticed, like this one clicks, it goes tick every time. Also, it always goes back to the home page every time you hit a button. So there are some changes, some differences, but not major.
No.
If you know how to use one, you can probably use the other. So these were both available to all the kids, and they didn't get one, right? They found whichever one was nearby and used it. Is that fair enough?
Right, yeah.
And I think let's talk a little bit about what worked about each. So because I made this one, I'm going to give the pros about the other one. So I talked to one of the kiddos yesterday who is emerging reader, and he was saying, I can't make sentences, right? He wants to be able to, you might want to just perseverate and get it to say he 1,000 times.
Yeah, he likes
which he does like to do. But he also was making a sentence. You know, I like you, I do not like you. Yesterday you asked him to make a sentence with go. With go?
Go, I
Right.
did, yeah, and he did make
Yeah.
sentences with go, and he knew exactly where all the buttons were
Yeah.
when I asked him
Yep.
more about it.
Our other verbal little person was, at first she had a hard time because she said she knew it wasn't grammatical.
Like,
Like,
it's
and
not.
they're like, where's
it's
the
not
S?
R.
Where's
the
this?
two? Right, the little words. Right.
But once
Yeah.
we got past that and said, we want you to model for the other kids just simple sentences, then she was fine.
Gotcha. And then let's talk about the pros of the little guy. Right. So which I turned off. Oh no, it died.
It
You want me to
died.
grab
It
another
died.
one?
Go grab the green one if you can.
Okay.
Well, we'll talk about the pros of this one. It's just battery dead. It's not like they all survived. Which
One
was
of
great.
the things I liked about it is that you had this raised portion for the
Right,
you could
the grid.
feel
Key
them.
guard.
Yeah, key
the
guard.
key guard.
And
grid,
you're not
whatever.
with a $50 Android device. There's not going to be a key guard available. You could probably 3D print one, but it's a lot of work. That's a lot of work to get that
So
right.
some of the ones who had more trouble with the dexterity of pointing, I think they liked that one better.
Gotcha. So here's a.
So they could
By the way,
feel it.
we have lots of these, so the fact that one died is not shocking. So here's the same guy. So let's talk about what we liked about the little guy, this guy.
Couldn't get out of it.
It was
You-
dedicated. We
It
loved
is a
that.
true dedicated device.
They were
meaning,
durable.
Durable,
They did
dependable.
Drop them.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I have a great video that shows exactly why we like this little device. But before we go into durability, is there any pro to like it's faster? It's far faster. Like as far as booting up, as far
Oh,
as
definitely.
right when you need to turn it off and on.
Prepping.
Right. It's
Yep.
just on.
Right.
Whereas the Android, you just saw it took a while for it to start up.
And you had to repin it a lot of times.
Yeah, yeah, it would come out. Yeah.
Yeah, and there is no way to set an app to automatically pin at start. So I saw
on an Android.
on an Android, and I think basically what I saw happen was one of the kiddos, the Houdini, would turn it off, and then have it turned back on, and when one of our folks here turned it on, they'd entered the pin. I don't think they remembered to. I think that's how that thing got unpinned. So I watched him turning them off. I saw him swiping to this. I have a video of him doing everything he can to get out of the Android device. And the fact that this is dedicated is, I think, the biggest pro.
It's also small,
Yeah.
and the kids
More
treated
portable.
it like a cell phone. I even saw some of the kids, one
That's-
of the little boys, holding it up to his ear with the screen, and then he was clicking on it. So
Right.
I think he's modeling a lot of the other people he sees using this little cell
Right.
phone shaped
Right.
device.
So let's show just for a second.
Ready, set, go. What are you gonna say? Oh, pick it up here. No, he got this one. There you go. What's it say?
Goose.
What's it say?
It's a goose.
Right.
I dare you.
Ready, set.
Why we need dedicated devices and ones that are $70, $80 to make, and not
Can sanitize.
hundreds or thousands of dollars, right? So let's talk about what are we going to do with these things next? Are they going to stay here? Are any going to stay here?
I think it's beneficial to have them available, not maybe for every activity, but if a child wants to use it, they can have somewhere to go get one.
Do you think it would be useful for a kiddo who might be melting down, or
Oh, yeah.
Did we see that this week? Remember, guys, we've had 5 days, and the first day was an introduction to this. We've had 4 days of 3 hours.
Yeah.
Right? We've had 12 hours with this. I think we have not seen the best or the worst of these. We have seen them go down the slide, but I haven't seen one as a projectile yet. Have you?
No.
No.
All right.
And we did keep it out of the ice and the water tables.
The water table.
And the shaving cream.
And the
so that was
very
very,
good.
That was a
very
good thing.
good, yeah.
So, and you know what? We had one that was banged up enough I had to open it up and
did
put a wire. But it's they're all repairable. You can fix it. It's not a magic
I just think
box.
we need to add a couple more words, like more social words on there, and then maybe I need a break or one of the special rooms,
Yeah.
to calm down.
And then Lori, you had asked me earlier, can you make it bigger? Can you make a bigger one?
Right, right. Less navigating. As an AT person,
You want more on the
love
screen.
less
Yeah, no doubt.
navigation.
So originally, just to show this for a second, the original layout on this, and this might be just something we can look at, right? So the original layout on this had 12 pictures, and it actually had no next button. It had the 12 top words. That was just all we were going to do, is just let's see if it helps to have the top 12 words. So we dropped down to 9 because it was easy to do pages this way, right? So you do pages of 9 and you're going up and down here. We certainly could go to 11 and just have a next button, right? Not have a home. Or we could make the picture smaller. The thing is, we really can't, right?
I don't want to.
Yeah.
You could go to probably,
We have older people who have to read them.
And I don't think we've
20?
actually sat down yet since we ended camp about an hour ago. We haven't sat and brainstormed and debriefed about what worked and what didn't work. This is our
Right.
debrief.
This is the first conversation we've had about this, and they've had a whole hour to get it out of their system.
to get ready. Thanks, Bill.
You wouldn't have stayed. See, there's no way they would have stayed. There's
That's true.
absolutely
See
no
ya.
chance. This is how you do it. So I think we will take a look at this about what comes next. Certainly, there is not the device that I used to make this is a Pi Portal from Adafruit. When I saw it, I said that's a speech device in one board. So it's one board. It has everything you need except for a battery and a speaker, and it does what we need. There is not a larger version of the Pi Portal at this time. There are other options. To make a dedicated device that has no operating system, you kind of need to be starting with something like this one. So we'll watch and see. I happen to know that the folks who make this watch my videos, so you never know. So tell them.
that'd be
So
nice.
there you go.
A good price.
But at a good price, right? So the price on this one is It's $59 for the board that runs this, and then I buy it on Wednesdays, so I get 10% off. So it's $55. So it's $55. Probably another $15 for the battery, the speaker, the parts. So let's say $70 will get you into this. 75 if you screw up a print. 75. That's probably a good. We can make it for $75. If you were making 1,000 of them, you could probably make it for $30. Right? It really is that kind of a drop on this, right? But we're not making 1,000 of them. Forget it. I made 7 and I'm done. But it certainly is affordable, and it does show a couple things. So for me, do you guys remember why I originally did this? So just so you guys, to be completely honest, I didn't do this for your camp, right? So I did this because
Oh, thank you.
I did this because this is
Ulterior motives.
I have ulterior motives. This is a dedicated speech device, and it's not a great one, but it does fulfill all the requirements for CMS certification.
Oh,
So
thank you.
if I can make a $75 or even $100 device that actually hits all the points for CMS certification,
So would they pay you $5,000?
$8,000, and
$8,000
going up
for
with
that? Wow.
inflation now, which was the new trick from last year.
Yikes.
But no, I will not be charging $8,000. But I think it will make a good point that perhaps we need to look at if we don't want to drop the price, look at the spec. Because there's no way I should be able to make something. It means the spec is so loose that anybody can sell anything, right?
That's
So that was why I originally made it, was to make a point. And then Lori said,
if you're making
I
it
want
anyway.
I want one for
I
one of
want
my
one.
kiddos to
That
put.
child wasn't at our camp,
No, and he's
but
the-
having a walker, I thought it was a great device to mount on a walker.
Right, always have your core words with you, right? Just always have a core box.
Yep.
Right? And
we
he
did
will
have
be
a
here.
child with canes
Right.
who was carrying it, and you made a cute key ring on one to help him.
Yep. And carabiners, we could clip it on. And that other kid will be here next week.
Yes,
So while it's not communication camp next week,
it's not.
These are still available.
they're still available.
And I like that this week there were all the activities geared toward using the device, and they were modeled. So you had a lot of questions that they could answer on the device, so that in future weeks, the kids that were here this week
Can
are
help.
the models for future
Right.
weeks, because
Yeah.
they know how to make a lot of those sentences that we've been practicing.
Yeah.
Like, I like it. And
But
I
it definitely
don't
worked
like
better
it.
in a smaller, focused group.
Yes.
Except for like the group game like that, where everyone could use just one.
So just real quick, just to make sure it's important because it's definitely your big concern as well. This isn't a way to teach AAC use.
Right.
It's a way to socialize it. It's a way to embed it. It's certainly a way to support it. It's a way to get core into the classroom. But it's not a way to teach somebody who needs a dedicated device how to. Camp is not the answer to that.
The camp is not the answer.
Camp
to
is
that.
not the answer to that, right?
That
But
is right.
it did help with the kids who were verbal. Like we did silent duck, duck, goose, and it's like they had to just use the device
And they get it.
to see how it felt to that child who just had a device
Yeah.
and couldn't speak.
Yeah.
I think it.
And I
helped
think the
that way.
child who had a full-time device wasn't separated. It's now everybody was using it. It's cool.
Yeah.
Right, but
Right.
there were
Yeah, she's kind of a reluctant user, doesn't have a lot of communicative intent, so she could see other kids using devices, and other kids were
In a
using
fun
her
way.
device too.
Yeah.
They were trying that out, and yes.
Probably some lessons there we should share if you're gonna put AAC devices in a classroom setting like this. You're gonna have some issues. You're gonna have people taking the high-end device and reprogramming it.
You're gonna have that.
You're gonna have that.
You gotta call tech
like
support.
an AAC center
Yeah.
in a classroom.
So I think this is going to be a lot of cocktails to actually discuss what worked and what didn't. But the devices worked. I'm happy with
Devices
that.
worked. They did.
Devices worked. They charge well. They didn't. That one died. I've never actually seen one die yet. Have anything died during the class?
No.
No,
All right.
Never.
Yeah.
So we're happy with that. I should go check and see if we have any questions. We might, but we probably don't. Let's see. Let's see. I don't even see where we could read our questions. Let me try one more thing. So they changed how the live video works. What's that? You watching it in the lag?
Yeah, like look at her face and look at mine.
So, hold on a second. Here we go. Don't start speaking. All right. So we just have a couple likes, and we have no questions. All right. If you guys have questions about this, one I know is going to come up. Are we selling these devices? It happened already in the ATMakers group. No, we are not selling these devices. They are open source. If you want to make one, we'll give you everything you need to make one.
Nice.
If you want somebody else to make one, we have some groups like Mary Elizabeth's group, Project Vive, and her brother, whose name I forget. There are some groups out there who will actually make, they'll make open source projects for you and do that at a cost. So they're certainly possible to be made. I have no intention of selling these, but I'm happy to help you make them if you want to make some for your classroom.
That's great.
And if you've got a camp and you want to try them, we could probably send some. Here's some. Send them back at the end of the week, after our camps are done.
Okay.
After our camps are. See that I got this dirty look from my wife. So Lori, real quick before we finish.
Yes.
This kind of worked between LessonPix and ATMakers and Minor Achievements. Do we do more of
Yes,
these?
it does.
The only other thing we've done like this is the sensory room, right?
The sensory.
We built the sensory room, but that wasn't really LessonPix. That was
It's
just.
not, but it does need more visuals in there.
It does need more visual, and it really kind of needs a rehab. It's
Yes.
it needs some work.
It's time
So,
for a makeover.
It's time for a makeover. All right, well, guys, post any questions below, and we'll be happy to answer them. Thank you, ladies. I'm sorry that I roped you into this, and you guys all have a good day. Bye.